The London Transport Museum did a heritage run with their 1938 stock, and we had the honour of riding it on the Piccadilly Line tracks from Northfields to Cockfosters. So let's see if it's worth riding, and also explain how you can book one if you want to experience an old tube train on the tracks. So what are we waiting for? Let's try out the London Transport Museum's 1938 stock Northfields to Cockfosters heritage run. Why hello everyone, I do hope you're all well. It's your good man Addy, otherwise known as Trainman 305, accompanied with my amazing family. We do hope you're all well, and we welcome you to Osterley Underground Railway Station. Opening in the 1930s, it's also known for its elegant design by architect Charles Holden, and is currently on the Piccadilly Line between the Heathrow Airport terminals and central London and beyond. But this is not the station we want to be at, as the train we are catching is 2 stops down the line at Northolt, and that'll be where our journey begins. So let's wait for the next train so we can get going.
This is a Piccadilly Line service to Cockfosters.
So long, Osterley, and with the magic of the internet, we are now at Northfields, ladies and gentlemen. Now we can properly start. Anyway, as the Piccadilly Line train we were just on makes its way out of the station, we've got to go and make our way to the gate line, because that's where we actually collect the ticket for the tour. Tickets obtained, bought a few goodies from the London Transport Museum stand here, and ooh, what's this lurking below our feet, I wonder? Anyway, making my way back down to the platform, it's time I reveal I'm in the Bronze Car 3, which is the back of the train. And in my opinion, I'll tell you why I think it's the best. But of course, before I reveal all of the crucial and important information, let us admire our train roll into the station. Hello, how are you doing?
Ticket, sorry. Is that one ticket?
Thank you. Oh wow, this is awesome. The old Northern Line display, that's cool. It's safe to say I'm in awe. It's incredible how well preserved this train is. But anyway, I better get back in the carriage in a moment, as we're about to depart soon. And all of the information that I'm about to say in this video has been provided by the Transport Museum themselves in this little book we get to keep. I may get some from some other sources. That looks incredible. Vintage model on a vintage train, that's incredible.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to your heritage train journey in the London Transport Museum today. Thank you very much for booking. We hope you have an enjoyable time. If you have any questions or you want to find out more about the train or anything else, please speak to the stewards or the staff from the Highways desk. We're very happy to answer your questions. Have a great enjoyable time today. Woo! Not sure if everyone heard that, but just in case, I just wanted to say welcome to the trip today. Thank you for booking. If you have any questions about the train, please speak to the stewards or the staff. We're very happy to answer.
Now then, let's talk about the train. This beautifully restored train is the 1938 stock. When it entered service, there were 2 variants, one with 3 coaches and one with 4 coaches. The one restored today is a 4-coach train with a green and red moquette seating, grab handle, and distinctive Art Deco light fittings. The journey of the train's history begins in the 1930s. Increasing demand and ambitious expansion plans meant that the London Passenger Transport Board had a problem. The standard stock trains were aging, and more importantly, they were more inefficient. Back then, the massive electrical switchgear sat on the compartment behind the driver, eating up about 15% of the train's length. The 1938 stock changed the game. Thanks to the new PCM system, engineers managed to shrink the control gear and tuck it nearly entirely under the floor. Suddenly, you had more room for passengers without making the train a single inch longer. It was the first time a deep-level tube train featured a completely flat floor from end to end. It was sleek, it was red, and it was revolutionary. The first units rolled out on the Northern Line in June 1938, which is what the current interior is meant to represent, but this was also around the time when the clouds of war were coming over the European continent. During World War II, these trains became more than transport, they became life support. They shuttled Londoners to deep-level shelters, and in some cases the cars themselves served as mobile ambulances or emergency supply carriers. Production was also halted as factories pivoted to the war. Some of the 1938 stock trains were even used to build experimental provisional trains during the conflict, but over 1,000 cars were ultimately built by the end of the production of the 1938 stock. Post-war, the 1938 stock became the undisputed king of the deep tube. It dominated the Northern and Bakerloo lines. If you were a commuter in the 1950s or 60s, this was your mobile office. And it wasn't just about the tech, it was also about the aesthetic. The interior that you see right now is actually the interior they had, and it felt solid. It felt like London. By the 1970s, the 38 stock was looking a bit long in the tooth. New silver-skinned aluminium trains were moving in. The 1938 stock refused to quit though. It hung on the Northern Line until 1988 and the Bakerloo until 1985. Yes, they did run on the Piccadilly Line as well, but I'll explain these operations separately in a moment. But here's the twist. They didn't retire to a museum. At least not all of them. In 1989, British Rail bought several units, refurbished them and sent them to the Isle of Wight. They operated a service called the Island Line and renamed the 1938 stock to the Class 483. These survivors ran for another 30 years. Imagine that! A train designed in the age of steam engines still hauling passengers in the era of smart technology with mobile phones. Today, the 1938 stock is the crown jewel of the London Transport Museum's heritage fleet. It was the train that saw London through its darkest hours and into its modern rebirth. It wasn't just a piece of rolling stock, it was a 100-ton steel heartbeat running beneath the streets. And when it does the occasional heritage run like today, people line up on the platform just to hear the rhythmic motor for one final time. Or in our case, ride that rhythmic motor hum one more time. Because that's way more satisfying in my opinion. Now then, since we just cleared up the main timeline of the 1938 stock, let's talk about its operations on the line we're on, the Piccadilly Line. If you want to know more about the proper history of the line, I made a video on it back in September, along with my good buddy Train Guy 306, or just check out the London Transport Museum. The links are in the description. When the 1938 stock was designed, it was the so-called iPhone of its day, fancy and modern. While most of the 1,000 plus cars were sent to the Northern and Bakerloo lines, the Piccadilly received a tiny exclusive batch. Only 7 full 1938 stock trains were officially assigned to the Piccadilly Line. They were the odd ones out running alongside the older standard stock, and later the silver 1959 stock. Why so few, you may think? Because the Piccadilly Line was set for a different future. These 7 trains were essentially a stopgap to increase the capacity of the line's massive extensions. You can't talk about the Piccadilly Line without mentioning the Aldwych branch. The one-stop shuttle from Holden was a historic quirk and the most famous abandoned station on the Underground. You can book a hidden London tour to see the abandoned station. The link is in the description. While the 1938 stock roamed the main line, the Aldwych shuttle was often home to its older cousins, the 1935 experimental stock. These were the prototypes of the 38s. They look almost identical but with subtle differences in window shapes. In 1955, one of these cars famously overran the buffers at Aldwych. When it was rebuilt, engineers used the 1938 stock parts, creating a Frankentrain, I guess, that lived in the dark tunnels on the shuttle until the late 1950s. In the 1970s, the Piccadilly Line faced the biggest challenge, Heathrow. Extending the line to the country's busiest airport required a whole new kind of train with more luggage space. Enter the 1973 stock, the current trains on the Piccadilly Line. As the sleeker, long-bodied 1973 stock trains arrived, the smaller fleet of 1938 stocks were pulled from the Piccadilly Line. By the mid-70s, the 38s had vanished from the Piccadilly main line, with the 1973 stock as their successor. Well, for today though, the London Transport Museum ran it out today, and usually you can find their tours online. Just go and search London Transport Museum Heritage Vehicle Outings, and usually you'll find it there. Or you can be like my friend Jacob, who found it on Instagram, or you could be like my friend Thomas, who found it through the newsletter. Oh, and Thomas and Train Guy made a documentary on Charles Holden. That's cool. Anyway, since I'm in the bronze car at the back of the train, this journey costed me around £24. As I'm currently a student, I was eligible for the concession fee. Meanwhile, my parents, for example, both had to pay £25 as their adults. The website will clearly list what type of fare you're eligible for.
Pre-announcement.
I suppose.
Yeah. Which from an operational perspective is much better. From an accessibility perspective is much better as well.
I suppose. I can't deny that.
So then, after all that, was it worth it? Yes, absolutely! Travelling for 17 minutes on this amazing piece of history was truly amazing. Definitely worth it. And I fully recommend it if you have the ability to ride one on your next visit to the capital. The reason why I feel the back carriage is the best is purely because there was more staff, and therefore the most people to engage with. I learned a lot, especially with my conversation with the guards. Truly incredible. Anyway, as this is probably the busiest I've ever seen Cockfosters railway station, I'm gonna grab a snack from the cafe and make my way back to the normal Piccadilly line. So, with that, I do thank each and every one of you for watching this video. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe if you wish to see more. And of course, leave your requests in the comments below. I love engaging with you all. And I'll see you all next time. Take care everyone, bye bye, see you all soon.